One.
¿Qué pasa, campeones?
Welcome to the Churros y Tácticas Podcast, Thursday, July the 20th. We're here for all of our listeners, the loyals and the ones free riding. But a quick heads up, this is part one of a much more in-depth podcast, which will be exclusively for our patrons. That part two will be recorded on Monday. We'll quickly give you the details why, but first off, right off the bat, let me just give all of you a massive thank you for all of your support. You've submitted questions like never before. We're overwhelmed by the response of the community of late in wanting more churros, demanding more, and we want to give you guys the best that we have to offer. And for that, with this overwhelming, again, response in form of questions, we want to take it part by part. It is, as you know, always a challenge. The biggest challenge probably of this podcast is to coordinate schedules with the summer season already kicking off, preseason. Both Barca and Madrid are already in American territory. Over in Cali, Kiyan is going to go over there to report from the spot. And, well, for that, it means juggling of the schedules as we can't record at the usual time. So today, quick 15, 20 minute, let's say, blitz through some of the main topic, the headlines that are grabbing the newspapers or the front pages of newspapers today. And then we'll get to your loaded questions, because my gosh, Kiyan, the people we got to give the people what they need, and they want more. They want more of the loaded content. So
it's incredible, Diego. It's incredible. The most complained about podcasts and in the world, Churros y Tácticas, by far the most complained about and loathed playlist on my YouTube channel, Churros y Tácticas. But paradoxically, the most in demand, the one that people rush to the most, the clips that go the most viral, the podcast with the most questions submitted, Churros y Tácticas. You said that this is like part one to part two. I don't even think that does it justice. Really, this is the breath. This is the inhale. That's how small it is. It's 10-second compared to the big juicy podcast we're doing on Monday. We asked for a call to questions. So many questions came in, and they were all so loaded and so juicy and so controversial. So many directed towards you specifically that we decided, okay, we can't do this justice right now. We don't have enough time. I have to cover Real Madrid's press conference soon. Tomorrow, I'm going to Los Angeles. We're doing a podcast there. Sunday, Real Madrid training likely. Monday, we said, Monday we can make it work. There's a 9-hour time difference between Barcelona and Los Angeles.
If it wasn't already difficult enough.
But we're going to make it work. Monday is going to be juicy as hell. So that's going to go exclusively over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. That's where patrons submitted their questions. That's where the content will be going. So we can talk about stuff today. You excited?
There's still plenty of things. Yeah, I mean, look, there's still plenty of things that we need to discuss, making the headlines, new topics as well that have developed since we last spoke. And we might be even overlapping in some of the questions that our patrons have asked. But, to kick off the list of topics, I wanted to talk about Joao Felix. I think probably at this point in time, it is one of the most pressing topics surrounding Planet Barca and Atlético de Madrid, of course. I think we've all seen the images of a very, shall we call him, disgruntled, dissatisfied, annoyed Joao Felix returned to practice with Atlético, throwing a few tantrums here and there. I think it was yesterday. Today, directly with one of the players, Lamar, I believe it was as well. So, and coming out making some very bold statements. After Chelsea, after QSG, his dream since boyhood was to play for Barca. Look, I say that with a hint of, call it sarcasm or Because it's true. I mean, he has when he went to Chelsea, he stated, I remember reading at the time that, it was a dream for him to play for Chelsea. The point is, I think we can all agree that Joao wants an exit from Atlético de Madrid. I think many of us can understand his position. There's some information surrounding this latest saga as well, Kiyan, that I can offer you as a way to sort of explain, I think, the stances of both parties or all three parties. But before I get into that, let me just get your take on the latest Joao. Yeah, call it news, call it drama. It's not a secret, as I said, that he's been looking to exit from Atleti for quite a while. And given primarily, I would want to think that his agent is Jorge Mendes and has a good relationship, as well as many players that play for Barca, a good relationship with Laporta, that is. I think looking at this from Jorge Mendes's camp, it makes complete sense why we are seeing what we're seeing at this moment.
My initial reaction was that I was completely shocked. It's so rare that a player comes out and publicly says, while under contract with one team, to say, I want to play at this club specifically, and mentions the club. And it's just a rare thing. Obviously, he has done that with some calculation, some strategy, advised by Mendes to do it the way he did. But it's incredibly direct and frank and honest and candid about where he wants to go specifically. And usually players are more diplomatic in these situations. They don't reveal much publicly. Obviously, there was the intention behind doing that. My second thought, as you know, I'm a well-wisher of Barcelona, and I'm always thinking about you guys and whether you guys should be doing things or not. I thought about Antoine Griezmann, whether just because Griezmann wanted to be there, was it a good signing for you guys? Is this the right thing to do if you're Barcelona, to bring in Joao Felix just because the market opportunity exists and he wants to go to Barca? How does he fit in Xavi's plans? Where does he even start? Will he accept a salary cut? Is it wise for him to take up some of the salary? From a talent level, I mean, I don't doubt his talent. Who does he displace in the starting lineup? Is he going to play a deeper role? Is he going to play up top? He's not a goal scorer like that. You can't rely on him for goals. Is he a second striker, which is, in my opinion, probably his best position, a position that doesn't really exist in the way Barcelona play? Xavi likes to go with wingers who can dribble and break lines. He's not that. So where does he fit in Barcelona? And is it wise to bring him in? Is the other thought I had. Like, where does he fit?
Yeah, I think that's the primary question. And even before, well, I can give you a quick summary of my thoughts on that. But I think even before delving into that and really analyzing that, it's whether or not it's actually worth going that far. Because I'll tell you right off the bat, I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think this transfer will materialize.
Okay.
So before even entertaining where will he play, will he get in the way of, say, a Gavi or maybe even a Gundogan who could, not that he's a second striker, but these are players that offensively at least have quite a lot of participation. Gavi, depending, of course, on the way that Xavi would play. Right,
because Xavi likes to go with four midfielders.
Yeah, exactly. But I think even before entertaining that, it's you posed a few other questions. You mentioned his salary. I think it's interesting to know how this situation even came about, because as far as we're concerned, what the reports are saying is that Barca found themselves completely dumbfounded when these statements were made. It was completely unexpected. So they never entertained the thought that this was really a possibility. Of course, we all know from Joan Laporta that he has a bit of call it a fantasy, if you will, or he has spoken about Joao Felix in public several times, talking about how he loves him as a player. He likes the way that he plays, and it would be a sort of a dream for him to try to attempt to make a transfer happen. This is in the past, but it always seemed very clear that given his salary, given Atletico's negligence to even sit down and entertain a serious transfer offer, this whole negotiation was never really on the table. Why? Because Atletico want to offload him. They're not very much interested. Again, this is according to reports. They want to offload him in a transfer, full money up front, get the basically sort out their summer plans, their summer movements. So they want cash up front. Barca, we know, are cash strapped. Therefore, already automatically, this starts to become a very complicated deal to make happen. The best thing Barca can do, really, is just sit back and see how serious Joao Felix is in his intention to make a move, to force a move to Football Club Barcelona, thereby Barca being the solution, not the problem, right? Barca, if anything, want to be a solution for Atletico,
the savior,
as they see a savior, as they see. Look, shit, this guy's not budging. We have this offer from Chelsea, or probably not Chelsea, but maybe QSG, a Tottenham, whatever it might be. But no, Joao really wants to make this childhood dream come true and only play for Barca. In which case, can we make it a loan? How are we going to split up his salary, which, again, according to reports, could be up to 18 million a year. Something, of course, Barca are not going to be paying, because we're not paying anybody that kind of money right now. A lot of things. Again, are we seeing Joao take a pay cut? Are we seeing Atletico maybe willing to pay part of it? There's so many factors here that I think are serious hurdles. And I don't believe that Joao is that desperate to be a Barca player to actually force it until until whatever it is, the 30th of August, when, deadline transfer day. Atletico is panicked. Okay, fine, Barca, come here. Let's make it happen. How can we do this? I don't see that happen. Now, the other thing is that Xavi never really, again, according to the word around the campfire, didn't contemplate this. He has other priorities. He has the right back still to figure out. Of course, there have been various new additions joining the squad. Also in the midfield, we've seen players like Oriol join the squad. I mean, these really were key positions for Xavi to continue to be filled, and he still has a few more names on his wish list that he would like to see happen before entertaining Joao Felix to really enter the equation. Although, having said that, again, Joao Felix never really was a serious option, thereby wasn't considered. You could consider this an opportunity, as you rightfully put it in the beginning there, that the market presents to you. It's like, oh my God, well, now we're in a situation where we could get a very talented player that could definitely, add value to this Barca squad for an interesting price, maybe a loan spell. So if the market if this opportunity in the market presents itself, you might have to entertain it and seriously. But so far, they say that Xavi hadn't entertained that. So, all these questions that you posed as to where would he play, how would he play him, I think that's, again, questions that we would have to ask further down the line if this were to really become a serious transfer, a serious situation, a serious possibility. I think right now Jorge Mendes knows he has an unsatisfied client in Atletico. Mendes knows Laporta has a hard-on for this player, sees the opportunity, says, let's try to make this happen, be vocal, go all out, and see what we can, if we can squeeze this, how should we call it? Squeeze this lemon dry, or trying to twist and turn things in our favor.
Yeah, I mean, I think, outlined some reasons why the deal may fall apart. But again, I think mostly like to the tactical element of this. Let's say like in a vacuum, like Joao Felix, would he be a good signing or not? I certainly think he's a good squad player to have as an option. Again, the questions I would have is how does he fit in? Like he's not the same profile that Xavi likes in Ousmane Dembele and Rafinha, the player who can break lines and also track. He is not quite one of the four midfielders that Xavi likes to put. Like he's obviously not displacing anyone in midfield like Pedri. He's not going to provide what Gundogan brings in a deeper role. Gavi also provides a different kind of a profile as well. So alternatively, you could look at him as a false nine. I think one thing that gets lost, because I've seen people throw around like Joao Felix is a false nine, like that he can play there. Yeah, he can play there, but you have to keep in mind, like when you say like false nine, like the reason why, obviously it's unfair for anyone to be compared to Messi, but the reason why Messi worked as a false nine is because he also scores 50 goals a year as a false nine. He scores 50 goals a year from the right wing. Joao Felix, if you're going to ask him to do what Lewandowski does in terms of bring goals or play in that position, he's not scoring. Like we saw a version of this problem at Chelsea, in that Chelsea didn't create enough chances against Real Madrid, for example. They had a couple that fell to Joao Felix, one of them on a breakaway. And if you're relying on him to score the goals against you as your nine, you're going to have a really bad time. That we saw this. Chances falling to him, and that's the guy you rely on, that's a problem. So I'm not saying that he would be a bad signing. I just have question marks of how he would fit, especially into Xavi's scheme, particularly the way he likes to play. And also just, the kind of way Joao Felix is built. He's a kind of profile that you really have a specific system in place for him to kind of airdrop him in for it to work. And those are the questions I would have. I think Xavi is smart enough to make it work. But I think he would kind of have to change the way he plays a little bit. Because, again, if you're going to put him on the left wing, for example, he's just going to be a completely different kind of creator than a Dembele.
Yeah.
You mentioned Oriol.
It's a player that could be a second option. I just don't know how satisfied he would be being a second option and a plan B, so to speak.
Well, I don't think he's going to be plan A anywhere he goes, to be honest. So I think he has.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah,
I don't think he has great leverage.
No. He's not been getting the minutes that we've been expecting from him.
You mentioned Oriol Romeu.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you how accurate this report is that he has paid some of his transfer? Did you hear this?
Yeah. It's it's being reported that correctly. Or as you say, he sacrificed or even put in some of his own money out of his pocket to make this transfer happen. We saw, it's not the first time, we saw similar in the case of Xavi to come to Barca. He had a buyout clause with the team he was coaching in Qatar, and it was a situation where he was willing to put some of his own money. We see these reports from time to time, to be honest. It's not the first time neither. We see it with a player that has recently joined the squad. In the case of Oriol Romeu, look, Barca's his home. It's his home. It's where, he was brought up, where he played as a young kid. And it was, in this case, his lifelong dream for sure to continue or to be part of the Barca first team at some point in his career. When the Barca train passes you, you don't want to let it go by. And again, the reports are saying that it was so important for him to make this move happen that he was willing to sacrifice some of his own money to join Barca once again, but this time for the first team. I think it's a great signing. A great sign and a great signing. I'm happy I was vocal about him joining over the likes of some of the other players that were mentioned in the press. Again, this is a player that not only already knows the Barca way from his time playing for the youth ranks all the way up to the Barca B team. So, his track record with Barca is quite extensive, if you will. I think it just shy of 10 years or 5 or 6 years. But also, I want to highlight the importance that he had for Girona. We've heard many times Michel of Girona talk about how important Oriol is, how key he is for a system, highlighting him as the most vital player to make his system work effectively. So I understand that it is a gut punch for the Girona fans. We've already heard the alcalde, the mayor of Girona, have some, spicy words or some, let's say a little bit of frustration, venting, some frustration towards Barca for taking away a player that was so fundamental for Michel, for Girona, and how they played and how they've been so successful. I understand. So I'm as a Barca fan, however, I'm excited for him to join not just Barca, but Xavi in particular, because I think Xavi will be able to, he'll be able to get the best out of a player like Oriol Romeu.
Couple more things, and then I have to go. And I also need my Real Madrid headline, so we got to talk about Real Madrid for 10 seconds, and then put that as a headline for the podcast.
By the way, goddamn, I spilled some beer all over my laptop before we started recording. I was, breaking
right now.
No, before we started, like literally 2 minutes before we started, I had a little, those little 25 centiliter Coronita bottles, and I accidentally, when I was reaching for my headphones, knocked it over. The whole damn bottle went blook, 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 blook on top of my laptop, and it's managed to survive. This laptop, boy. I'm not
nice.
One to promote Apple, but
I'm glad it survived.
I'm glad it survived too, because this podcast went pretty smooth.
So far, so good. Bartomeu. Obviously, I think everyone's seen by now,
I thought we were going to talk Madrid.
Why no,
bringing up
something
the
of Bartomeu, and then we'll
do
Madrid at the last 10 seconds. I still have a few more minutes before press conference starts training.
Right. Cool.
Obviously, I think we've all seen by now, and we're not surprised, and we're kind of desensitized to Bartomeu being corrupt, and in this case, police finding out that he was diverting Barcelona's money for his own personal reasons, and then there's this whole thing with this Chiringuito journalist now who's playing the victim card.
Scumbag. Marsal.
Can we get him on the podcast?
That's not a bad one. Maybe I could try.
I have a different way of turning this discussion, because there's only so much you can say about Bartomeu being corrupt every day.
Yeah.
I'm about to, maybe this is a little bit touchy subject.
Yeah, Marçal Llorente. I'm going to try to get him on. Why don't I try?
Sure. Make sure you send him the clip where you called up a scumbag too. Sure, that'll twist his arm. It seems like with Barca fans that I've seen, anytime there's something about Bartomeu doing something wrong or sketchy, scandalous, corrupt, every Barca fan unanimously comes together and says, man, this guy sucks and this guy's corrupt, all this. But anytime something happens under the Laporta regime that it could possibly be Laporta, Barca fans get really defensive and deny it.
Go on.
Just the whole Negreira case.
It's not just Laporta.
No, it's not just Laporta.
Dates back 20 years.
Yes.
And every Barca fan will admit or will openly say and agree that clearly payments have been made during that time. That's undeniable. But that basically that there's no proof of bribery, and that these payments were for reports.
So, and I guess like the most recent one was the UEFA fine.
Right.
Do you feel like there is resistance to the idea, and then there's just like obviously pure hatred for Bartomeu at this point, but do you think there's more resistance to defending and becoming defensive when it comes to more current affairs?
Look, I'll say this. I think that Bartomeu, or Joan Laporta rather, has got a very tough job because he doesn't only have the Madrid press, but also the local Catalan press against him. Why? Because the likes of Marçal Llorente and who...
All right, guys, this is hilarious and sad at the same time, but Diego jinxed it. His laptop literally shut down because of the spilled beer. So he sent me a video, which I will embed here to summarize and kind of conclude his thoughts about Laporta and what's up against him in the press. So here is that right now.
I really need to get out of the habit of stop jinxing things. I mentioned that my computer was still fighting to stay alive and putting up a brave fight at that until it stopped working. I'm going to send this one on the phone, basically answering the last question. It will be for today. Why are we, the Laportistas, if you will, so outspoken and fierce in our defense of Joan Laporta? The reason is very simple. He's the people's champion. He's the people's president, okay? He's not the popular choice by the establishment whatsoever. The establishment were in the pockets of the Roseistas, Bartomeu and company, right? The Marçal Llorente, the Lesan, the people that work for Sport, Mundo Deportivo primarily as well. If anything, what the Bartomeu case continues to show is that Bartomeu was corrupt on many fronts, trying to benefit himself from being president of Football Club Barcelona for personal benefits, but also making sure that he had the media in the pocket. Now, Laporta is the opposite. He has terminated all of those contracts that were in place with, not just terminated, he had to wait for some of them to terminate, but that were in place with the local Catalan media. And at the same time, so he has them against them because they're not getting money anymore. And at the same time, Marca, the national Spanish media, Madrid-based media, is also continues to be fiercely against Laporta. Why? Because of fear, okay? It comes down to fear. The people, the establishment, Catalan Madrid-based media, fear Laporta, who, just judging by the results, is, in my opinion, without question, unarguably, the most successful president in the history of Football Club Barcelona. Judging by the results, the most historic, the best Barca that we have ever seen, the golden age of Barca, if you will, was under the mandate of Joan Laporta when he got us out of the misery that the Núñez Gaspar era left us. Now he's doing the same, and he is already successful, as in he's already made sure that we are once again champions, that we have reconquered Spanish football. Next objective is European football once again, to be the reigning supreme team and power within European football. Many don't want to see it happen under Laporta. Many don't want to see it happen, period. And they will do anything they can in their power to prevent that from happening, okay? And that is by portraying Laporta as a goof, as a party goer, as a big fat. I mean, they get personal as well with his weight, of course. They'll throw anything at him and see what shit sticks. In the meantime, he continues to do what he does best, and that is trying to make sure that Barça is a properly run club. And it's difficult when you have all the headwinds against you. I'm not saying that he is flawless. I don't think anybody is perfect. But in my eyes, and in many others, Laporta has proven to be the right person for the job. And right now, you cannot say that that is not true neither. After, being champions of the Supercopa, playing, winning the Liga, playing good moments of moments of some brilliant football, and rebuilding again under very difficult circumstances. So, he and will be criticized for anything, and I will be critical of him when I see enough evidence, or when I see fit, when I see enough evidence to say, let's criticize him. You mentioned Negreira, Kiyan. I said that's 20 years these payments have been happening since the Gaspar era. Also, these payments have proven not to have been influential in refereeing decisions whatsoever, and even the courts have decided that there's no evidence of that. You keep saying there is no way to prove that. Well, there is, as you can prove, just like with Bartomeu, that payments are used for personal benefits or money laundering or anything of that nature. So, the press are quick to call out anything against Barça and Laporta in particular. I've yet to hear apologies for putting Barça out, making Barça out to be some big corrupt club, when that has not been proven. In fact, the opposite has been proven. That has been not the case. And in the meantime, they will continue to try to, demolish and attack the figure both of Laporta and Barça as they see fit, as their agenda fits. There's 5 minutes, 30 seconds for you. Hope that makes sense. We'll talk again tomorrow. Inshallah. Si Dios quiere. Y si no quiere, quizás también. But my laptop has to work again. Peace out, good folks. Churros.
And that's it. Thanks, Diego. I'm actually going to sign it off here with a lot of anticipation in what's coming. I'm off on a plane to Los Angeles shortly, and I have a very, very busy schedule of podcast games, Real Madrid training sessions, and then, of course, on Monday, which is the day of Real Madrid's first preseason game, Diego and I are going to publish the juicy part 2 of this podcast over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. Thanks for bearing with the audio glitches. A reminder, don't drink alcohol because stuff like that happens to you. Just kidding, Diego. All right. See you guys on Monday over on patreon.com/Churros y Tácticas. And in the meantime, I will be pretty active on YouTube as well if you're watching this on YouTube. So keep it locked. And see you guys later. Peace.